Hello everyone, my name is Victoria Reyes and today I will be presenting my ISD model, the Lotus Model. To introduce the Lotus Model, first let's talk about the context. For the past several years, I have lived and worked in South Korea. There you can find that there is a high demand for English literacy, so English academies are quite prevalent. These academies often advertise a US-style curriculum and hire US teachers to move and teach at their academies on a teaching visa. Within these academies, a resource and development team, or R&D, is usually responsible for most of the teaching resources and curricula. This can be anywhere from the full program of the academy to the worksheets the teachers hand to the students. Now, Lotus Academy is an internationally structured academy in Seoul. They offer classes for both kindergarten and elementary ages. Between the two divisions, there are approximately 400 students enrolled at this academy. Like most academies in Seoul, the curriculum is managed by their R&D team. Over the past 2 years, however, they have been experiencing a decline in student enrollment. The elementary division specifically has seen the most decline. They have a staff of about 4 to 6 on their R&D team and are responsible for all instructional material and curricula. It's been reported that their students' exam averages keep falling while the rate of complaints from students and parents are rising. They claim the material is too hard and their children aren't learning anything. Within the R&D team, there are 5 key roles: analysis, instructional designer, instructor facilitator, a project manager, and an evaluator. Under these key personnel, you'll find all of the role description on the slide. Feel free to pause to review. These roles are significant for the full function of the Lotus model, and you'll be seeing sort of how they will play into the model later. In this environment, there are some additional outside influences that we're going to have to consider. First is that the school is located in an area of Seoul which is saturated with English language academies. It's a very expensive area to host academies. There have also been reports of low birth rates for the past decade, which are becoming more detrimental to academic climates with lower student populations versus the growing academic businesses. There's also been a result of more parental control over the academic businesses. As of right now, the low student population allows the parents to make a bit more administrative decisions and a bit more control. There's also a cultural fear of student discipline to manage class disruptions, perpetuating a poor administrative reprimanding standing. There are 2 groups of people to focus on throughout this model: the audience and the beneficiaries. In this case, the audience for this model is the R&D team at Lotus. In other contexts, it could also be any resource team or educational training context team. The beneficiaries, those who will benefit from the audience in use of this model, are the students, the learners. Those who are redesigned lessons and curricula are being done for. This model was created with several things in mind. It adopts philosophies and phases from several models and keeps the ADDIE model in mind throughout it. Ultimately, it's a model that keeps the user conscious of both the developers and the learners. There are 4 distinct areas of rationale here. First is the system-oriented portion of the model. It's designed to process large amounts of information and remaining learner-focused with an added cultural sensitivity element. Next is the Seals and Glasgow portion of the model. Seals and Glasgow is a product-oriented model. However, it is also project management structured with clear goals and objectives and uses phases to remain on task. These portions of the Seals and Glasgow model were incorporated into the Lotus model. Smith and Reagan had a philosophy of applying a systematic problem-solving process can result in effective learner-centered instruction. I felt that this was a very insightful philosophy and was also incorporated into the Lotus model. Additionally, adopted areas of analysis that researched learners more personally and consciously were adopted. From Dick and Carey, the Lotus model does not carry the same development focus. However, the formative and summative evaluations portions of Dick and Carey have been adopted into its model, leaving room for immediate action for revision and adjustment. Here is the Lotus model. Feel free to pause to review it. So as you might have noticed, there are four distinct components of this model. They've been broken down into the phases of analysis, design, development, implement, and evaluate. Analysis targets problem analysis, task and instructional analysis, learning objectives, and there's the cultural sensitivity and appropriateness. In the design phase, there is instructional strategy, media selection, behavioral objectives, and it's on a revolving design format. The behavioral objectives, media selection, and instructional strategy should be in constant movement of review, feedback, and revision. In the media selection, it's important to note that it's selecting textbooks or videos or things that would be used to support the instructional strategy or to be influencing our instructional strategy. In the development phase is when we make the material development. This portion might be creating the worksheets or the lesson plans, or even selecting additional material to go with the media that has been selected in the design phase. In the development, we also will see some formative evaluations, pilot programs, or even our teacher-instructor feedback. Implement and evaluate are working simultaneously, therefore they are in the same phase. They are interconnected. Implementation and maintenance, as well as the summative evaluations, should be in constant motion of each other, using class sit-ins and test scores and any other summative evaluation available to make revisions, maintenance, and feedback. Throughout all four of these phases, feedback and revisions should be a constant. It should always be fed into and revised as often as possible to ensure that the material is concise and appropriate. This model has four assumptions and or constraints. The first being intent. This model is intended to improve learner outcomes. It is assumed that it would be used to successfully reach learner-focused objectives. The second being its information. It is assumed that you're going to be using large quantities of information and a thorough analysis will be completed through the process of this model. Additionally, quick fixes is not for this model. This model is meant for a full revamping of a standard curriculum. It is for long-term revision, not for a short-term fix. The last being desire. This model is intended for those who have the desire to be learner-focused and to root out learner-oppressive elements. As was mentioned before, feedback should be throughout the entire model. Therefore, communication diffusion is also going to be done throughout this entire model. Communication should be focused on active listening and feedback. It should be conducted throughout each stage. It can be done through in-person meetings, virtual conferences, email recaps, updates, and group chat messages, perhaps for urgent matters. The frequency of communication can vary depending on the group of individuals that are using the model. However, it is recommended to remain on task every week with a weekly update and keeping a monthly update on the project progress. The diffusion should be conducted once again through each phase as well. Pilot classes with updated curricula should be utilized, classroom observations should be conducted, and teacher presentations utilizing the new subject matter and giving student responses should be delivered to the team to review how well the instruction is being delivered and if the intention is being met. Now, you might be wondering throughout this whole process, why Lotus? Is it because of the context of the Lotus Academy? Well, it is somewhat a play on words. However, what I wanted for this model is for it to be ever-flowing and growing. The lotus flower is a symbol of rebirth or renewal, and I wanted this to be an opportunity to have something that embraces improvement and shows empathy. Because in conclusion, it is a systems-oriented model to process large quantities of information with a philosophy that remains learner-driven. It is conscious of student-learner styles and influences. It's reliant on analysis and design phases to ensure attention to learners remains the primary objective. Long-term resolution is for this model as opposed to the quick fixes, and overall, it's an empathetic model. This comes to the conclusion of my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Have a great day.